Hi, everyone. We're now going to do a demo on the new Google search feature that Executive Pulse has added to all of the BC Business Counts community systems. This will make it easier for you to be able to add company information into your database. And Laith, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Dale. And Dale, if I miss anything today, please feel free to chime in.
I'll do that.
So what I like about this feature, Dale, is not only is it, in my mind, an automation and convenience feature, and we have a lot of those in the CRM these days, but what I really like about this feature is it's very intuitive and easy to use. Now, we're in Silicon Valley today. We're going to be using, I'm going to do my best not to show you any specific company information in their system as we go through the two webinars today, or the two how-tos today, but I want to use their system because I kind of know where things are in this system. I've been doing some training with these folks recently, and this is a system that is familiar to me. But to use the Google search feature, all you have to do is go to the add menu, and you're going to go to the company app or the company widget. And in all of our BC systems now, you will notice that there is a new button underneath the company name that is a Google search function. And what we have basically done is we partnered, for those of you that are curious about this, we've partnered with a firm out of the UK, and we are basically teaming up with them and using their search capabilities. And that these search capabilities, by the way, are not limited to just the US or Canada and North America. They can provide this functionality across the globe. But what we are really doing here is we are using their Google Search API, their integration with Google Search, to allow us at Executive Pulse to give our clients the ability to very easily pull back or find information that up to this point in time you would have to be entering manually. So there's a couple of things that I like about this feature. I mentioned the ease of use options here, but what I also like about this is this really stems kind of any sort of data mismanagement or data hygiene issues. Because typically for many of you, what you'd be doing is essentially looking up a local business and trying to transpose that information from a Google search into the CRM. This really saves you a lot of that kind of hassle. So I'm going to use this feature. Before I do that, I just want to mention to you that if I were going to do this manually, if I were going to create a company placeholder or tombstone information for a company manually, I'd have to fill in the company name, the status, their geographic area. And I could, with those three fields, if I come down and hit save and complete, I'm going to be creating a tombstone kind of placeholder, what we like to call a digital file folder or a portfolio entry for that business. Really think of it as nothing more than a digital file folder in the system for that business. The Google search feature is going to allow me to grab that type of information very easily. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in, I'm looking for Herald Street Cafe. Now, I want to mention something to everybody. The way that this feature works is it starts at your geographic home base. I'm talking to all of you today from the state, specifically from Pennsylvania. This really wants to start the search in my local area because it knows based on my internet protocol or my IP address where I'm coming from. And I'm really looking for a business that's in British Columbia. But nevertheless, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the Google search. So I put the name of the business in, and instead of me putting in additional fields of information, I'm going to put in and run the Google search. Notice, by the way, that we are still using the algorithms that many of you that are familiar with the platform understand and know about. And that is, the system is already checked and said, this company is not currently, this business is currently not existing within the confines of the CRM. This is Herald Street Cafe in Slocum, BC. This is the one I'm interested in. So Google search has found the one that I want. There's only one. By the way, if there are multiple matches, you'll see them here. And when I click, the system is giving me a gut check and saying, is this what you're interested in? And do you want to copy this entry? And again, I mentioned when we kicked this off a few minutes ago, what I like about this feature is if you know how to run a Google search, and everybody on the webinar, I'm certain does, or maybe you're using Bing or another search engine, but you all understand generally how to conjure up a search. It's as simple as putting in the name of the business in this example, saying you want to run the Google search. So it's highly intuitive. Once I get the composite or the DNA information, the system is giving me this pop-up gut check and then saying, do you want to copy this information? And then simply all I have to do from here is click copy, and this is going to post that information. Now, as in terms of how we have data structured across BC and all the BC systems, I still have to tell the system that they are an existing business and the geographic bucket that they're going in here. So in this case, I would basically put in that they're in Slocum proper in this example. So I put in 2 additional fields of information, but you can see I've got full address information here. I even have notes information. So depending on the notes that the business has provided to Google or the information that Google has, it's going to pre-populate the notes. And then for me to lock this in, all I have to do is hit save and complete. And that's as simple as using this feature. I took a heck of a lot more time describing this than what any of you is going to do to find information in the system. Again, we found all of this under ad, under company. I'm going to leave this page and repost this. And all you have to do is put in the company's name or the information that you're looking for and hit Google search, and the system is going to do the rest for you. Dale, that's really as simple as this feature is to the CRM. And again, this has been applied for every single one of your members. Every BC system now has this integrated Google search tool, thanks to you.
Thanks, Leith. It is a great tool, and I've used it as well. And the one thing that I know that Harold's Cafe doesn't have that is probably a website address. I believe it does pull up website addresses. I did one this morning for a business in Penticton, and it pulled up the website address, and it inserts that into the website as well. I think it's a very useful tool, and I do believe it will help the communities as they start to populate their databases in the system. So thanks very much for adding this for us, and it'll be a great feature. Thanks very much, everyone. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us or use the help button on the screen, and you can contact technical support, and they will help you if you're faced with any challenges. So again, thank you, and we will pause it here. Hi everyone. This training video will focus on the survey campaign feature that is in each one of your systems here for British Columbia. BCEA has added a number of new features working with the team at Executive Pulse over the period of 2021 in order to make it easier for our communities to reach out to their businesses and their databases as they move forward. And this is in particularly useful during the wildfire campaigns of 2021, as communities are able to, and with COVID, as communities are able to reach out to their businesses to find out information that they may need. So I'm going to hand this over to Leith, and Leith is going to show us all how to use the survey campaign feature. Thanks, Leith.
Dale, if I miss anything, please feel free to chime in. And I know you're going to close things out with this feature. This feature, Dale, you hit the nail on the head for you guys with the disasters that have been happening this past summer, specifically the wildfires in many communities across the province. This type of functionality, this kind of arm's length communication, I think has taken on kind of an added significance. But really the impetus for us getting more and more involved in these arm's length transactions the other variable that you mentioned, which is COVID. During COVID, and we're now in really going on, I don't know, 20 months or whatever. During this whole COVID pandemic, we have found ways in the CRM, recognizing that many of you that are doing things like business walks or doing things like BR&E are no longer able to get intimate with your business community. We're using technology tools and tricks now that enable you to still get information from those businesses, still elicit responses from those businesses, but do so really from the comfort of your office, whether you're at home working or your physical office, but really touching these businesses kind of remotely. And I want you to think about these features as really providing the benefits. And I'm going to drop a couple of names here. Dale and his team are building surveys using our version of a Survey Monkey. So they are building, Dale and Ashley are every day building different types of data surveys or data input forms. And that is really kind of step one of the equation of this process. And I'll show you how that works. But really, for all of you, you have the autonomy to set up survey campaigns. And I want you to think about the campaign feature as really providing kind of constant contact or MailChimp type of functionality within the system. So not only can you determine who your target audience is and communicate directly with that subset of business contacts in the system, but the system also allows you to basically understand the dynamics or how well the campaign itself was received using the campaign functionality. And on top of all this, you have the ability to go in like you would traditionally and say, hey, I want to look across the array of all of our retention surveys and find out what the pain points of businesses are. So this functionality really gives you the ability to dissect how well received your campaigns are. That's that kind of constant contact or MailChimp type of functionality. And you can look at the actual analytics resulting from the data that businesses are providing. And the best part of this, Dale, is really that, and I'm not taking a swipe at SurveyMonkey because I think it's great technology, but ultimately when you work in SurveyMonkey, you are really working within an island or a really kind of your own little area there. The nice thing about what we're doing is when businesses respond to you, information is going right back into their profile within the CRM. So you could see that, hey, we did a survey campaign with our logistics cluster, and this is what those logistics businesses are telling us. And when I go to a specific profile in the system for a logistics firm, I can see when they responded, et cetera. So let's talk about this survey campaign functionality. I've mentioned during other webinars, I like features that make life easier for people, but I also like those features that we roll out that are fairly intuitive. And even though the campaign feature is a little bit more of a heavy lift than like using comments or setting up ticklers or the new Google search feature that we just released, when you're adding businesses, this is a little bit more arduous than those things. It's still fairly intuitive to use. So in this example, you'll notice here with these folks, they've got a business survey 2021 that Dale and Ashley built for them. This is a specific type of a survey or a form that they want to use, a digital form that they want to use. Certainly, they can add that information manually and link it to businesses. But what we're going to do here kind of fictitiously is we're going to pretend we're ready to send this out. So to do that, I'm going to use this feature. And by the way, Dale, I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a second here. For those folks that have not truncated their ad menu to look something like I've done here with only those tools that I will be using for the purposes today of this demonstration, but if I were an actual ED practitioner and I was doing retention work, this would be basically the way my ad menu would look. I shouldn't have 30 functions, 30 apps on the screen. I should be paring this down, and you can see visually it's easier for me to key in on the features when I do this type of customization. And by the way, customizing my features are nothing more than basically Xing out features that I don't plan on using or adding features back here. It's that simple. But where we're going to focus our attention just for a few moments during this webinar is on the survey campaign feature itself. and I'm going to click on survey campaign, and this is going to pull up for me essentially a digital form in the system. And all you're going to need to do to set up a campaign is to follow the kind of the order of these. And we're going to start with the distribution list. And by the way, for anybody who is unsure about what we're going over during the webinar, even after the fact, just know that throughout the system, throughout this form, there is going to be tooltip assistance for those of you that say, I don't understand what the distribution list is. Click on the question mark. The system is going to tell you what the distribution list is. I don't know what that message is all about. Click on it. The system is going to tell you. So we are trying to keep you on the straight and narrow in the system and try to keep you focused on what you're doing using this tooltip assistance. The distribution list is simply those contacts that I want to get my campaign. And I could type in manually. If I want, I could type in manual addresses here, but there's an easier way for me to do this. I can click on the to option, and this opens up an address book. And for many of you, you're going to have listservs built already. You're either going to have run queries in the system and have saved searches, or some of you may have tagging groups. In either event, all you have to do to conjure up a list is say, I have a saved search or a tag that I want to use. I'm going to go under saved searches. I created one before we started today called My Contacts. So what I'm basically saying to the system is, instead of me keystroking in 300 email addresses, I ran a query in the system. That query consisted of all business contacts, and I called them My Contacts, and that's going to be my listserv. That's going to be my distribution list. And I'm simply going to say okay here, and that's all I have to do. This is going to post that information for me in the system. So all I do here is say My Contacts, and you'll see that it populated this information. It's a saved search of My Contacts. This represents in this system, Dale, I think about 300 or 400 contacts in the system. Now, just so you know, when this gets sent out, businesses can't see each other. So part of the beauty of using the campaign feature is each business is essentially being treated almost in a silo as an individual. So if I'm John Smith and I'm getting this, I can't see Mindy Jones's profile and that she's part of this listserv. The system does that for you automatically. Now, you can attach files here. So for example, if there was a new facade grant program and I wanted to let all of our businesses know that we're going to be helping them with facade work, or more topically for you guys, if there's something coming from the Red Cross for the disasters you've gone through, or from COVID, you have something from provincial government and you want to pass along information, you can literally use the file attachment feature here if you choose to do that. I'm going to forego that option. I'm going to put a subject in here, and I'm just going to call this, let's do facade grant program. So that is going to be the message of the email that the receivers get, or the recipients are getting. Now, we've given you sample verbiage, excuse me here. You can use this verbiage as kind of a starting point, but for each of your campaigns, and you can be doing this in Word and copying and pasting here, but you're going to want a message. What does the recipient see? They see it's a facade grant program. Specifically, what message are they getting? And the signature here, you can put in your own signature or the signature of the person that's going to be ostensibly sending this out. I also want to mention, however, that under my own portfolio and account settings, under email, I can hard code an email signature in under the email settings. So for those of you that have not played around with preferences under my account, my portfolio and account, if I were to go here now, I'm not going to do that, but if I were to go under account, there is an email section that allows me to hard code in my email signature. And by default, that would populate here. But I'm just going to put in here, I'm going to put my name here, and I'm just going to put in here sender. Okay, now the urgency of the campaign, this really mimics what many of you that use Outlook or Gmail on a regular basis. Is this low, normal, or high type of urgency? I'm going to say normal. So just to recap, I've got a list of contacts. I built that listserv using the Power Search reporting feature. Under reports, I used Power Search. I queried all contacts in this specific system. There's 300 or 400 of them. And I basically created a saved search, and that's my recipient list or my listserv. I did not attach a file here. I put a facade grant program, a message here or header here. When people get the email message from the system, they know what this is. We give you sample verbiage, but you could put in anything you want here as well. This can be anything you want it to be. And again, my suggestion is if you want to massage a message, do it in Word or in a text editor and just drop it in here, copy and paste it in here. Your signature, you can manually put a signature in, but if you're an active user of the system and you've used your account preferences and specifically your email preferences to default a signature, this would be who's sending or who's logged into the system right now. You can override this, you can put in anything that you want, but this is going to be who is the sender of this, who is this coming from. We have an urgency option here, low, normal, high. And then here is really where the rubber hits the road, and that is what survey are we associating with this campaign? And this gives me a number of different forms in the system. And in this example, I'm going to be sending out or pretending to send out the business survey 2021. Now, the business survey, those results I mentioned earlier, the beauty of this is not only can you gauge how well the campaign itself worked, hey, we sent this to 300 or 400 businesses, how many opened it, et cetera. You can do that very easily in the system. But also we want the result set to seamlessly link back to the businesses that are in the CRM. So the parent entity of this is going to be company. So I'm sending out this business survey 2021 that Dale and Ashley built for Slocan Valley. Those results are going to go back and link to the company. And then it's a matter of me putting in a start and end time for the campaign. We're going to start the campaign tomorrow, the 18th, and we're going to start the campaign at 8 a.m. And the campaign is going to run through September, through the 30th, and we'll conclude the campaign at 5 p.m. So this is the open amount of time where people can participate in the campaign. By the way, the start date always needs to be forward facing. I can't go back in time and say, I wanted to start this, last week or whatever, or even in 5 minutes ago. It needs to be forward facing. Now, the branding, many of you have multiple brands in the system, but in this case, I want Slocan Valley to be the brand. That would be this masthead. This email message, this email campaign is going to go out with their masthead. And then once people complete the form, once they complete the business survey 2021, thank you for participating. We appreciate your time, et cetera. Once again, we're giving you sample language. You can put anything you want here. The thank you can come from you as the sender, or it could come from an elected official or a member of your board of directors, or you might have a BR&E committee or a disaster committee, and the chairman or chairperson of that committee, this could be coming from them, but this also needs to be coming from somebody specific. This would be your thank you message signature. So this would be like Frank Jones, et cetera. And then, so you get the idea. The sender can be one person, the person who thanks them for completing the campaign or their portion of the campaign could be somebody else. And then I mentioned to you that this campaign is open for essentially over a month. This next feature, how often do you want to respond to remind non-responders to participate? Never, daily, weekly, or monthly. I'm going to say weekly. Now, you have the latitude as the person who is creating the campaign. You can, for lack of a better term, goose people at any time you want for those non-responders to participate. So even if I said never here, I could make a note to myself to go in every few days and manually use the campaign feature itself to remind people. But this is a nice automation feature. This is going to say, look, from the time you sent this out, every week, we're going to make sure that we remind people that have not participated that it's time for them to do so. The next two features are optional, but this is really, we talk about COVID. Dale mentioned COVID. Dale mentioned the wildfires that are going on. If you were doing a campaign like this that had to do with a pandemic and you want to push people to a pandemic-related provincial site, you could literally put on here Government of British Columbia and then put in their URL. And when people are done responding to this particular survey, they would be essentially shuttled to the redirect website. And that's what this gives you the ability to do in the system. Notice we're also giving you tagging functionality here. So if you wanted to tag this, you could certainly do it. Now, I filled out every field here. And again, what I like about this is I'm just going to tell you, we have never had anybody use this feature and tell us it's difficult to use. Once they understand the underpinnings of this, this is really easy for them to use. I'm going to pretend to save and complete this. And I want to show you what ends up happening here. And this is important. The system is now creating a placeholder for this campaign itself. And you're going to see there's a pop-up. And the pop-up is going to say finalize, update, or save for the future. If I click finalize tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. your time, this campaign will be going out. If I say I want to update it further, the system's going to allow me to go back in and make edits. And if I say I want to save the survey campaign for later, the system is going to say, I'm still not going to send this out, even though he put a time of 8 a.m. tomorrow. This is really for the foreseeable future in limbo. So I'm going to save the survey campaign for later. We talk about portfolios in the system, and what we have here is a portfolio for this campaign. We don't have any tracking yet. We don't have any related items or anybody who's filled anything out yet, but this is a portfolio for this campaign itself. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to come up to the cog and I'm going to delete this out. I'm going to delete out the campaign. I don't want this running even inadvertently. But Dale, that is how you use the campaign feature. Again, it's simple to use. What I like about the campaign feature, the survey campaign feature, is it gives you the best of a Survey Monkey in terms of the automated sending out the survey essentially, or allowing people to fill this out remotely. But where best Survey Monkey is, those responses are not floating in cyberspace. They are linked back to the business profiles in this system. And it also does what I like about a MailChimp or a Constant Contact, and that is the campaign itself gives you metrics and analytics that you can sink your teeth into.
So, Leigh, thank you very much for that. And just a few questions. So let's say they developed that survey, and I probably should have asked you this before you deleted it, but if they did a draft of it, how do they refine that draft? So how do they go back in to update that draft?
Okay, under your history, now I deleted this out, so I apologize, but underneath your history, that campaign will live here. You can easily go back and find it. The other thing is, and I don't want to do this because if I go to my portfolio, you're going to see the businesses in her system, and I don't want to do that. But if you go to your own portfolio, there's a toggle that says, I want to look, instead of looking at businesses or business contacts, I want to look at survey campaigns, and you could pull up the survey campaign from there as well.
Okay, thanks, Lathan. The one, I know that when the city of Vernon, for an example, and I'm not too sure if some of the other communities have done this, but on the thank you part of the survey or of the email that gets sent out here, you can actually, some have said, it's from the economic development officer or the business recovery officer, but the response for thanking them from doing the survey is coming from the mayor or the board chair or the general manager of the organization that maybe sent them out. So that's a nice feature to use on the thank you part of it. The one thing that, and before we close off, Faith, I think is really important that communities understand, this feature works great if you have email addresses. If you don't have email addresses, then it has no one to send it to. So
I
you
agree.
need email addresses under your contacts. Doesn't do you any good to have the email addresses under your company, because when you're emailing something, you're emailing someone, and that someone needs to be in the system, being your contact. So we've shown you how to create a company, and there is another video available on how to add a contact. You need to do those, add contacts to your system with email addresses. But I think one of the next videos that we're going to do is to show you how to create that mailing list from the contacts that are in your system. So thanks very much for watching this session. And Laith, did you have any more to add?
I would just say under custom reports, one of the forensics that we offer is an email validation report. So if you want to get an idea of where you have holes in your potential listservs, I'm running this again under reports, custom reports, email validation, and I want those with no email. And Dale, I'm just going to say finish. This is going to show me there. She's done a great job here. I'll do those with bad email addresses. And you can see there's some here that have bad email addresses. These addresses, again, it's not just Dale having email addresses, it's having valid, good hygiene. And we have tools that can help you with those things.
Great. Thank you very much, Laith. And everybody, thanks for watching. Again, if you have any email questions, please feel free to email us. Or again, you can click the help button at the top on the toolbar there, and you can contact technical support, which is the quickest and easiest way to get assistance in trying to do what you're doing. Thank you very much, and have a great day.